What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the Mac Sports Connection podcast, where Alex hosts all things Mac, all things football, all things sports, right here, Mac Sports Connection, baby. The Mid-American Conference best, bringing it only the great Mac to everyone.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Mac Sports Connection podcast. I'm your host, Alex the Captain. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Mac Tournament Championship Week. How exciting is it for us to be here? It is that time of year when teams live, they die by tournament play, by a last-second three, by a prayer, whatever it may be. We find out who qualifies to go to the NCAA championship, who doesn't. It's an exciting time of year. I'm so excited that you guys are tuning in to check out this week's MAC Tournament Championship preview. On the men's side, we've got a couple of teams who are kind of struggling on their way into the NCAA tournament, who are kind of struggling on their way into the MAC tournament. On the women's side, we've got what looks to be a pretty clear front runner. But let's just look at these storylines real quick. On the men's side, Toledo men with the top seed for the fourth straight year, and they are looking for their first NCAA tournament berth since 1980. They've also won 4 straight regular season titles. This is tied for Cincinnati, dating all the way back to 1947 and 1951. This is an incredible streak that, especially in this era of free agency, transfer portals, NIL, to have this level of consistency during the regular season is incredibly impressive. Hats off to Coach Todd Kowalczyk and everything you've done at Toledo. This is an incredible milestone that should be celebrated, and many people will be very quick to rush and say they aren't tournament championships. You know, they'll question how many NCAA tournaments have you been to. It's still impressive. I think a lot of times we don't really recognize the body of work, and we recognize just a stretch of games in Cleveland, which is fair. I don't want to discredit that. But I think it's so important to also look at the entire body of work. And Toledo has been a model of consistency during the regular season the last several years, and I want to commend that, and I want to recognize that. They are on a 3-game winning streak heading into this tournament. They will take on Kent State this week. Looking forward to another rematch between Kent State and Toledo. Toledo swept them 2-0 in the regular season. We'll look to see if the Rockets can get to 3-0 on Thursday. Western Michigan men, they are making it back to Cleveland for the tournament for the first time since the 2016-2017 season, where they actually lost in the quarterfinals to Ball State 66-63. Now, you guys will be quick to remind me that the MAC tournament switched to the 8-team format post-COVID-19, and you would be correct. However, this is the first time that Western Michigan has made it back to Cleveland after the first rounds, which were initially on campus sites. So that first round of the MAC tournament usually hosted on the campus sites before sending everybody off to Cleveland. This is their first time back to Cleveland, even with those campus site games since the 2016-2017 season. Congrats to them, hats off to them, and good luck as the number 6 seed in this tournament. Speaking of Kent State earlier, they are looking to defend their 2023 tournament title. This is their lowest seed that they've had in the men's tournament since the 2013-2014 tournament, where they were actually the 9th seed, and they lost to Miami, Ohio in the first round. Another fun fact, which I'm sure will make a lot of Toledo Rocket fans very, very nervous. No number 1 seed on the men's side has won the tournament since 2019, the last full year of the 12-team format. The 2020 tournament started with the 12-team format, however, was canceled in the quarterfinals and semifinals, I believe, on the women's side after the COVID-19 pandemic kicked off. So this is the last time that a number 1 seed has won the tournament, back in 2019. We have not seen that happen on the men's side since. Bowling Green men back in this tournament this year after a little bit of time off. They are back in the tournament, and they look to make a run and end their MAC leading NCAA tournament drought dating all the way back to 1968. And based off of research, this is not only the longest in the MAC, but it's one of the top 10 longest droughts in the country. I couldn't find definitive answers on a lot of that. You know, some of those records, as you go further and further back, get thinner and thinner. But this is definitely a MAC leading dating back to 1968. Second is Toledo, dating back to 1980. As we flip over to the women's side, the Toledo women are looking to make their first back-to-back NCAA tournament appearance since going to the NCAA tournament in 3 straight years from 95 to 97, and they're looking to become their first repeat MAC champion, tournament champion rather, since Bowling Green did it back in the 2011 and 2010 seasons. I got that backwards with the 2010-2011 seasons. Ohio, they are back in this tournament. The Bobcats on the men and women's side sharing the same court for the first time since 2021. And then NIU is looking for their first ever MAC tournament championship and their first trip to the NCAA tournament since 1995, the longest drought on the women's side in the MAC. They are the only team in the MAC without a conference tournament championship. Fun fact for all of you rooting for NIU, of course, they have made this tournament, the NCAA tournament, as at-larges back in the 90s, but they have not won a conference tournament championship ever. They are the only team without a conference tournament championship. So I want to get into my dark horses here. I've got 2 teams, one on each side, that I have been relatively impressed with. Teams that I think could make a true run. Teams that I think the pieces are there for them to be a kind of a thorn in the side of other teams and possibly a championship caliber team. So we'll start with the men's side here. For the men, we've got the Ohio Bobcats. Right now, I think Ohio is the hottest team coming into this tournament, and they've proved that. They are riding a 6-game win streak, and that includes wins over 4 tournament teams, including a win over number 2 Akron. This is a team who's been playing really gritty, really aggressive as of late. They're led by Jalen Hunter, who's averaging almost 14 points and 5 assists per game. And A.J. Clayton, he's averaging 12.4 points a game and almost 5 rebounds every single contest. I think it's important to look at some of these other players as well because this is a well-rounded team. Very important to keep an eye on Sharif Mitchell. He's a guard who's averaging 18 points a game over the last 3 contests. He's 4th on the team in total rebounds with 4.3 a game and 2nd on the team with 2.3 assists. We all know the story of Jeff Bowles, the head coach of the Ohio Bobcats. He's very familiar with this league and this tournament, not only helping the Bobcats to an NCAA berth as a player in the early 90s, but he guided this team through the MAC tournament to an NCAA bid in 2021, where they ultimately knocked off Virginia in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Defensively, they are currently allowing just over 70 points a game, which ranks 3rd best in the Mid-American Conference. They have extremely solid depth. All but 2 players are averaging double-digit minutes, and they have proven that they can play with the best in the conference. Close losses to Toledo, wins over Akron, wins over other top competitors in this league. This is a good Ohio Bobcats team, and they are clicking at the right time. For me, their biggest weakness, they've got a couple. It's the free throw line, where they currently sit at 6th in the MAC, averaging less than 14 made a game. The actual number is 13.9, and I know that's not a huge variance from top of the conference, Ball State and Toledo, who both average just over 16 apiece. But free throws help win titles. This could be very critical late in games, especially in a game with a Toledo, with an Akron, when you've got to make those 3 throws to give yourself a chance late or to put these teams away late. You don't do that, you don't win those games, you go home. It's really that simple. I really think other than that, there's not too many weaknesses. I think just kind of looking at numbers and everything, their second weakness for me, it's their offensive rebounding. Currently, they sit at just 9th in the MAC, averaging just 10 rebounds a game. And as everybody knows, offensive rebounds are very critical in tournament games. You're giving your all. You are doing everything you can to try to give your team a chance. Only 10 offensive rebounds a game, not great, especially when you're sitting at ninth. This could be really, I think, their biggest hiccup. Free throw line, their free throw percentage is fine. But I really think when you look at it all, it's going to be these offensive rebounds that could really hurt Ohio. Now, they put shots down like they've been doing the last several contests. Don't have to worry too much about the offensive rebounds. That being said, I think if we had to really pinpoint a weakness, it could be this offensive rebounds. What is my expected outcome for the Bobcats in Cleveland? Bold take right off the top. I think that they make the finals and they lose to Toledo. We'll get into that more later, but I think that this is an Ohio team who is built well. They have a lot of talent. They have a lot of size, a lot of depth. Jeff Bowles knows how to go and win a MAC tournament. He's done it multiple times. I would not be surprised to see the Ohio Bobcats in the tournament finals taking on Toledo. Over on the women's side, although their record is currently 10-8 in the Mid-American Conference, it does not reflect just how good this Buffalo team actually is. They consistently play Ball State and Toledo tough. Obviously, we saw them close out the season against Ball State with a 71-50 loss. However, you go back to January, February, and you look at how they played Toledo, look at how they played Ball State. They played them within a couple of possessions, played them on the road, played them tough. This is a pretty good Buffalo team. After their overtime loss to Toledo in the first round of the MAC tournament a year ago, Becky Burke's done a really great job. Last year was her first year at the helm. They qualified as an 8 seed, lost in overtime again to Toledo. She's done a really nice job kind of reshaping this team, bringing in the recruits she wants, getting them now to a 4 seed in this year's tournament. And honestly, I think it's a pretty favorable draw. They're already 2-0 against Bowling Green, and they've dominated Bowling Green on this year. This is a pretty favorable draw if you're Buffalo. As a 4 seed, you get 5-seeded Bowling Green. I really, really like this matchup for them. They are paced by Shalia Watson. If I mispronounce that, please somebody tell me. I want to make sure I get that right. But anyway, they are paced by Shalia Watson, averaging 22.7 points a game, one of the top in the Mid-American Conference. This is a UB team that I really think has a great cast of players. In addition to Watson, you've got Alexis Davis, who has been a phenomenal freshman for this team. She's averaging 6.6 rebounds a game. And then Kirsten Lewis-Williams, 12.1 points and 5.1 rebounds per contest. The thing that always sticks out to me about this Buffalo team, or at least for this year, they play extremely aggressive defense. They actually rank 3rd in the Mid-American Conference in points allowed, only giving up 62.6 a game. They held both Ball State and Toledo under 70 points in their first matchups, almost pulling off those upsets. Again, very impressed with how they look defensively. For me, their biggest weakness, this is a very young team. 6 freshmen, 1 sophomore, and just 2 players are averaging more than 10 points. I think part of that comes with the inexperience. It's the youth. This is going to be a good team for many, many years to come, especially as long as Coach Burke is there, because she's getting the players she wants. But to me, this is a lot of youth, a lot of inexperience, and a big stage that these girls are about to play on. They rank 5th in the MAC in points scored at 65.9. That's only a 3.3 point differential to the positive. So that tells me that if any of these games for Buffalo in this tournament get into a shootout, it could go very south very quickly. I'm not saying that they can't play and hang with the big dogs. They have proven they can. But I think that this is a team who, if this shootout happens, they don't have the firepower to keep up. Again, averaging just 65.9 points a contest. Not bad, not excellent. It's good enough to get them into the tournament as the 4 seed. I don't know what it can do for them if their defense starts to give up a few more points than what they're used to scoring. I do like this team to win this first round game against Bowling Green, and I like them to push Toledo in the next round. I think Toledo wins their first round matchup. So for me, my expected outcome in Cleveland is a semifinal loss to Toledo. I like what Buffalo's doing. I like what Becky Burke has done. She pushed Toledo to overtime last year. We could be in store for another spectacle between these two. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think that this is a quality Buffalo program. So it'll be interesting to see. I want to get into our tournament winners, give my logic and my reasoning why. But before I do that, I want to throw it over to Dev Official. First off, thank you, Dev, for coming up with my new podcast intro. Hope you guys enjoyed that. The update from Josh Cribbs. Still using a lot of the same chunks from the original intro. Dev just took it. I think it took it up another level. Wanted to share that with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and toss that over to Dev. So Dev, take it away.
What's up, everyone? My name is Devon Vox, and I'm the showrunner for a podcast called Vulnerabilities with Devon Vox that can be found on all podcasting platforms. Over on my podcast, my co-host and I do a weekly deep dive on the nuances found inside of social media through vulnerability-laced communication. We have funny moments and real ones, all based in authentic origins. I've been a podcast editor for 5 years and possess ample experience in audio editing, creative writing, mixing, episode distribution, recording, and creating attention-grabbing intros and outros. If your podcast is in need of an editor, please feel free to email me at devvv317@gmail.com to discuss rates. Again, that email address is devvv317@gmail.com. Contact me to guarantee a stress-free content year. If you're looking for your next podcast to binge, head over to YouTube or Apple Podcasts and type Vulnerabilities with Devon Vox to find our episode list.
Thank you, Dev, so much for that cutaway. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the updated intro. It sounds awesome. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please leave me some feedback. Let me know in the comment section that you guys enjoyed it or what your thoughts are. I think it's a step in the right direction for the intro, and I'm really appreciative of Dev for throwing that together for me, making it sound awesome, and really looking forward to what he comes to produce more down the road. Now, let's get into our tournament champion winners. I can already hear it. You guys are chanting, "You're a homer, you're a homer." This is not that, guys. I did pick Toledo to win both sides. I'm going to start with the women first, and we'll get into the men's discussion a little bit, but we're going to start with the women first. For me right now, Toledo is dominating the Mid-American Conference. Their last loss came to Ball State in Muncie on January 21st. They've since avenged that loss with a 22-point home win against those same Ball State Cardinals. They've knocked off Kent State. They've beaten Bowling Green twice. And, of course, they've beaten the Buffalo we talked about in the last segment. Right now, their average score line is 79.07 to 58.46, which is good for just over a 20-point margin of victory in each contest. That's over the last 13 games. Coach Collup has this team clicking. They are moving in the right direction. They look to repeat as champions, and you would be hard pressed to tell me with good reason that they won't. This team returned all 5 starters from last season, and I think that they look even better than their tournament team from a year ago. They graduated a couple seniors last year. They're graduating a lot this year. And I think this is a class that wants to staple themselves as one of the most legacy-filled programs in Toledo history. Sorry, one of the most legacy-filled teams in program history. They've got a lot of fantastic players. Quenisha Lockett, Sophia Wired. This is a good Toledo ball club. Those two are pacing this team. They are dominating the Mid-American Conference. Sammy McConowitz, another player who, fun fact for those who don't know, did not receive offers anywhere else, and she stayed at home and she played for Toledo and has done an excellent job of carving her name out into the record books at Toledo. This is a team that I really think could not only win the Mid-American Conference, but could get as far as the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament with the right draw. Bold claim, bold take, I know. Take it one game at a time. Right now, Coach Kolob has this team cruising along. I really like their chances to repeat as MAC champions. It's going to be a great first-round tournament game for them. It's going to be a great tournament for them. I can see Buffalo pushing them. Again, Buffalo playing really good defensive ball. Allie Becky over at Ball State, they can get to the tournament finals. That could be an epic rematch, the rubber match between the two programs. I really, really like what Toledo is doing. I don't want to discredit what anybody else is doing, especially over at Ball State, especially down at Ohio, getting back into the tournament. I really, truly, genuinely believe this is a Toledo team that is going to run through this tournament relatively unscathed, and they're going to win this thing and get back to the NCAA tournament. For the men's side, this one was a little bit tougher, and I recognize that, but I'm looking at everything, and I'm looking at all the data points. Honestly, the men's side is a crapshoot, and I feel like we say that every year, and I feel like that's almost a cop-out, but I'm going to kind of give my logic as to why I think Toledo has the best chance to win the tournament on the men's side. Akron, they've lost 3 of their last 6. They had a firm grip on not only the number 1 seed, but an outright conference championship, and in the last 3 weeks, they have choked that away. Ohio, they are on a 6-game win streak, and they have looked excellent coming into this tournament. Their team is healthy. They're playing with a lot of intensity and a lot of aggressiveness. But for me, they have a tougher road to the championship. To get to the championship, they likely have to run through Akron. Right there, that is a test. I know that same Akron team I just said has been struggling to get back to this tournament. I really think Ohio and Akron, if they play again, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be an aggressive game, going to be a physical game. Ali, Trimble, this is a team who I really, really like what Akron's done to get back to this point. And yes, they did choke away the end of the season, did choke away the regular season championship. But right now, each team starts out, they're 0-0. When you look at everything else in this tournament, I really think the 3 possible contenders are Akron, Ohio, and Toledo. Again, Akron, they've been struggling as of late. Ohio, they've been surging, 6-game win streak. They look great. They look to be a tournament-worthy team. Toledo gets a relatively easy path. They get a much weaker Kent State team than we've seen in years past, and Toledo's already 2-0 on them this year. Kent State obviously looking to try to defend that title, come back into Cleveland, shock the world. Would be a great story for Kent State. Would be a phenomenal story for Kent State. Come in as the 8 seed and go win the whole thing. Absolutely huge story. Toledo struggles against the zone defense. We saw that against NIU and the second Bowling Green game. But this is a team who can put on the points. As I mentioned, they do own a 2-0 record against Ohio and a 1-1 record against Akron, as well as 2-0 against Kent State. They went 14-4 in conference play this year. Dropped a couple games they probably shouldn't have. Probably should be sitting at a much better record. But nobody expected Toledo to be the number 1 seed. When you go back and you look at the preseason poll, I believe most people pegged Toledo to finish 2nd or 3rd. They lost a lot of talent, replacing Ray J. Dennis from a year ago, the All-MAC MVP. Or I guess the MAC Player of the Year, however you want to define that. I'm also noticing it looks like Coach Kowalczyk is diving into his bench a little bit more. All but 2 players have played in double-digit games. 9 players played in 20-plus games this season. Now, I want to say, while I think Toledo has a chance to do this, I would not be shocked if Toledo stumbled first round, second round, or in the championship. It feels like we've seen that happen the last 4 years. They've run into a buzzsaw with somebody. This year, it could be Ohio. The MAC, however, is very ripe for the picking. In this tournament, Toledo's got some momentum coming into this tournament. There's no true clear front runner. Again, Akron, Toledo, Ohio are the teams that I see winning this thing. The 1, 2, and 3 seeds, of course. But I really think this year is the year that Toledo puts on the dancing shoes for the first time since 1980. Gets back to the tournament, wins their first conference tournament championship, again, since 1980. The first year the MAC Conference Tournament Championship was played. They won that tournament up at Chrysler Arena up in Ann Arbor. I really, truly believe this is the year that Toledo gets back to the dance. Only because it's a year of uncertainty. Teams are down. The MAC looks much worse than it has in years past. I think in the RPI or the net ratings, the MAC sits at 24th in the country as a conference. It's not pretty, but it would still count as a berth to the NCAA tournament. I think this is the year Toledo gets it done. That's going to about do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to the MAC Tournament Championship Preview. I really appreciate you guys tuning in, checking everything out. Please, please, please go check out Dev Official, what he's got cooking. I really appreciate you guys supporting him as well. Go show him some love. Let him know how much you like the new intro, like the new outro. Thank you guys so much for everything. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to check me out, I will be in Cleveland for the entirety of the MAC tournament this year. So if you're there, please stop in and say hi. I'll be up in the media section. Tag me on Twitter. Say, hey, I'm here. I'd love to meet you guys. Meet and greets at MAC events, tournaments, football games, whatever. Always one of my favorite things to do when I get to an event. So please, please, please don't hesitate to say, hey, we're here. We'd love to see you. Love to meet up. I'm always down to do a quick meet and greet as time allows. So please let me know if you're in Cleveland. Also, if you can't be in Cleveland, check out my social media. I'll be live tweeting, doing some live coverage of the event while I am there. So please check that out. You can follow me over on Twitter X at the MSC Podcast. That's the same handle for Instagram and TikTok. I will likely be uploading some basketball TikToks while I'm in Cleveland. So be sure to check me out on all those handles. You can follow me over on YouTube at MSC Podcast. And, of course, you can find me on Facebook, the MAC Sports Connection Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate the support. Looking forward to bringing you live coverage from Cleveland. And then after that, we'll see what happens. We'll see who's going dancing. We'll see where we were wrong, where we were right. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week.